Alright, hello guys. Today we are talking about exercises a hiker, a trekker, or mountaineer does not need to do in their training. Now, there is no such thing as a bad exercise. It is how you use the exercise which makes it good or bad. And this statement is 100% true and is something I firmly believe. And for every single exercise you could ever imagine, you can always find a use for it in the right population. In some certain situation, you can always justify the use of a particular exercise. However, saying that, that doesn't mean hikers should be doing every single exercise out there. And I firmly believe there are a number of exercises which are commonly recommended to hikers, and hikers I see doing again and again and again, which I think they should not be doing, purely for the fact that it doesn't give the benefits or as close to the benefits as they're often advertised, and also they often come with this higher risk of injury, which is just not appropriate. So today I want to explore a number of exercises which I really do see commonly recommended to hikers, and just explore why I don't believe you should be doing them, and then the very few situations where they may be appropriate, just so you can go out of this episode and just be a little bit more aware around if someone's asking you to do a particular thing, or you're reading something online about a training article, you can be aware whether it's appropriate for you or not. So with that being said, let's get into it. Exercise number one, which I see hikers doing all the time, and if you followed my stuff for a while, you know I absolutely hate them, and that is burpees. Now, burpees are the most overused exercise in the entire fitness world, and unfortunately, so many hikers and trekkers out there are getting told to do them. Basically, burpees are advertised as being this amazing exercise which does so many things. It gives you upper body strength because there's a push-up portion. It gives you lower body power because there's a jumping portion. It gives you a really big cardiovascular work because you're huffing and puffing. And in all honesty, it just doesn't add up. Yes, burpees are very, very difficult to do, but that is their main draw card, and that's why trainers use them, purely because they make people think they're working hard, they make people think like they're having a really good session, and the trainer literally doesn't have to think, doesn't have to set up any equipment, and that is why burpees are so popular. Yes, they'll get you huffing and puffing. Yes, they'll get you tired, but there's much, much, much better ways of developing whatever you're trying to develop as opposed to a burpee. In my opinion, 99% of people out there do not need to be doing burpees, and even worse than that is so many people, when you see them doing them, they're doing them wrong. And meaning they're going to put extra stress through their ankles, extra stress through their knees, extra stress through their back, extra stress through their wrists. And time again, I see people pulling up from these things just sore, and it's so unnecessary. I do not recommend burpees for hikers. If someone asks you to do a burpee in a training session or in the gym, I highly recommend you ask for a different alternative, because I just do not think they're appropriate for anyone. I think they're overused, and I honestly think they're just a lazy trainer's way of getting you tired. So there we go, bit of a rant done on burpees, but that's my opinion there. Number two, building off that, is squat jumps. Now, squat jumps do have their time and place in certain situations, but 95% of the time people are asked to do them, it's just not appropriate. Generally, I'll see squat jumps recommended to hikers on pretty much any training article you read online from one of the big backpacking magazines, or just someone who just doesn't really know a huge amount what they're doing. And you see it in gyms all the time with the high intensity mindset, where they'll just do lots and lots and lots of squat jumps, get a really good burn in the legs, and so forth. Now, squat jumps are a really effective exercise if you're looking to develop lower body power. Most hikers out there probably don't really need to be spending a huge amount of time on this, but if you were specifically trying to develop power, you can be using squat jumps to do this, and this will equal out to be maybe 3, 4, or 5 squat jumps at a time, going as high as you can, and having long rest periods of like 2 minutes or more in between. That's how you develop power. If you're doing lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of repetitions, you're not having much rest, you're not going to maximum exertion, and someone's saying this is good for your leg power, it's not. That's not what it's developing. That'll be developing muscular endurance, which is important for hikers, but in my opinion, doing 30 squat jumps is probably going to have a high risk of injury. Just that landing again and again and again, that high impact on your legs again and again and again, it's just unnecessary. You can get the same benefits from doing 30 goblet squats holding a weight, in all honesty. Squat jumps for high repetitions is not a good idea. Just to back this point up before I move on, if you go into any strength and conditioning gym where they're training professional athletes or semi-professional athletes, and they've got very, very highly qualified coaches there, they will take weeks and weeks and weeks of leading people up before they even do a squat jump. They'll teach them how to land, how to absorb force, and make sure they develop this perfectly before they actually get to the jumping portion. And so if professional athletes are taking a long time to build this up and build up to this particular point, why a general population, so any everyday person, come into a gym and being asked to do squat jumps straight away? It just doesn't add up, and I don't think squat jumps for 95% of hikers out there really is necessary. The same thing goes into the lunge jumps. So lunge jumps, again, often get recommended as this great muscular endurance or muscular power exercise. For most hikers out there, it's just not necessary. It's not appropriate. It's going to put too much pressure through the joints. You get the same benefits from just doing normal lunges, which doesn't have that jumping portion if you're looking for endurance. So I do not think squat jumps and lunge jumps are really necessary for most people. You might argue with me with that, and there are people out there who can do hundreds and hundreds of these and not have an issue. But believe me, I've worked in gyms where they've been the flavor of the month, and for all the people who can do them with no issues, there's probably about 50% of people who are walking around with constant aches and pains because they're doing them. So food for thought there. The next one is exercises like curls, tricep extensions, like bicep curls and tricep extensions. Oh, I see this all the time for hikers. I see it all the time on online articles, backpacking articles, and just people who just don't obviously know what they're talking about. Curls and tricep extensions, they're working one muscle at a time. Muscles that aren't incredibly relevant to hiking. It's just not a good use of your time. If you are specifically looking to improve muscle definition or muscle size in those areas, so you're going down a bodybuilding route or something like that, or you've been asked by a physio to do these, then absolutely go ahead. However, if not, they're a waste of your time. If you want to develop upper body strength, do bigger movements, things like push-ups or chest press, things like seated rows or bent over rows or something like that. Don't waste time on these little one muscle at a time exercises. It's just not a good time for hikers. The next one I always see, crunches and sit-ups. I see these all the time and it drives me mental. Crunches and sit-ups, super, super, super old school. They're not really giving incredible benefits for hikers, and they're a bit of a waste of your time. We're all familiar with them because they give a good burn in the stomach. It makes us feel like we're working, and we've all done them throughout our lives, so it's not too scary to get into it. But again, they're just not very effective. If you're looking at doing core development, don't go down crunches and sit-ups. Do dead bugs, side planks, and pale-off presses, or anything similar to those. They're going to give you so much more bang for your buck for the time spent. There are going to be so many more benefits on the trail. There are going to be so many more benefits in your everyday life than wasting time on crunches and sit-ups. So in my opinion, get rid of them. The next one is leg extensions. So you've all seen the leg extension machine at the gym where you sit down there and you basically just kick your leg up and down. And what this does is isolates the quadriceps, meaning it just works as one particular muscle group at a time. Very, very effective for bodybuilders. For hikers, probably not incredibly relevant. Yes, quads are very, very important for most hikers, but if you're spending time on the leg extension machine, you probably should just be spending time doing squats or doing lunges or doing step-ups or something else which works more muscles at the same time as opposed to this one little isolated thing. The only exception here is if you've been recommended by a physio to do leg extensions for some particular reason, whether you need some extra muscle mass on that area, but aside from that, leg extensions are not a good use of your time. A couple more to finish this off. Next one is ladder work. So if you've ever done agility ladders or running through ladders and stuff like that, it can be fun, and that is the benefit of it. It just might be a fun way of doing cardio. But if you're trying to do fast feet in a ladder and you're thinking that's going to be improving your balance on the trail, improving your stability on the trail, or transferring in any way to your time on the trail, it's not incredibly effective. Ladder work is fun, and it can get you huffing and puffing, and that can be the benefit, but don't be fooled into thinking it's going to improve your agility. Don't be fooled into thinking it's going to improve your stability. It's just sort of a skill to learn. So you actually learn how to be good on the ladder as opposed to be able to apply it in other situations. So be wary of ladder work if you're thinking it's going to be really great for you on the trail. And the last thing I want to talk about is BOSU squats, or even worse, Swiss ball squats. So we've all seen the BOSU, that's sort of half ball that sits on the floor, which is a little bit unstable, and it's been touted as really good for stability work. It can be effective with certain exercises. If you're using a progression for something like a side plank or a plank, it can be pretty cool. Same for a Swiss ball, you can do some pretty cool core exercises on that, but using it as a strength exercise, it's just not effective. If you're standing on there doing squats or standing on there doing some other exercise, what it's going to be doing is it's going to make you challenge your balance a little bit more, but it's going to be taking away from your ability to produce force, meaning the benefits of the squats are going to be greatly reduced because you're just spending all your concentration having to balance. If you're trying to improve your balance by itself, and then improve your strength by itself. Don't try to combine the two because it's not going to be incredibly effective. Again, I see this recommended to hikers all the time because in first thought, yes, it does make sense. You're like, you know what, unstable terrain, I got to produce force on that. That will apply. But when it comes down to it, it just doesn't add up. And this is just someone in first thought who thought it's going to be great, someone who might not have a huge amount of experience coaching, or someone who might not really know what they're talking about with strength work, and they're recommending this. It can feel good, it can make you feel like you're doing good, but it's not going to be really a great use of your time. So anytime you're asked to do squats or lunges on a BOSU ball or a Swiss ball, unless your physio has recommended you, if it's just a trainer saying this, I would highly recommend probably find a different way of going about it. Now, I could probably talk about this subject for a long time because it's a typical thing that I'll be reading through articles online, and I'll get all fired up because there's so many weird recommendations for hikers which are just out there and very popularized. But I'm going to cut it at that just so I don't ramble on for too long. But if you're being asked to do burpees, squat jumps, lunge jumps, bicep curls, tricep extensions, crunches, sit-ups, leg extensions, ladder drills, or BOSU squats, you can probably find a better way to spend your time. As a hiker, as a trekker, as a backpacker, as a mountaineer, you want to be using the best use of your time when you're in the gym or when you're doing your strength work, because I know it's not the most fun thing in the world to be doing. You prefer to be out on the trail. So if you are spending that time trying to develop yourself in the gym or with your strength work, use the time right and do something else. If you do want alternatives to any of these exercises, please do shoot me an email. I'm more than happy to help you at rowan@summitstrength.com.au. But aside from that, that's probably enough from me today. So if you have enjoyed this episode and you do know a hiker who's doing these exercises and might need a little bit of shove in the right direction, I would absolutely love if you could pass this episode on to them. Share the love, maybe open their eyes to a little bit of a better way of their preparation, and hopefully eventually improve their performance on the trail. So thank you so much for listening today, guys, and we'll talk to you very soon. Bye.